I did notice that amongst a host of information security officers, CISOs and IT persons, I am the only person from the audit side. So, of course, apart from being on the audit committee, my background is as a chartered accountant. I've been handling audits of various banks. So let me bring out one. When we are talking of digital security, although I go with all that you have said, what my observations have been that when we are talking of digital security, the focus amongst, especially amongst the technical people, tends to be more on the systems. I look at it slightly differently, that ultimately the proof of the pudding is in eating it. I don't care what system is running in the background. What I'm concerned with is what is the output and is it cost effective. So I've got two red flags, so to say. One is we are all focused on NPAs. You know, everybody in this room and all bankers are all focused on NPAs. As I see looming on the horizon, the next threat before NPA dies down is the fraud threat. And I think that is going to be accentuated by the fact that digital provides the anonymity. And anonymity enables crime. So therefore, the one factor that I have flagged as the emerging threat in banking industry is the risk of frauds. Of course, everybody in banking is aware of it. But then anonymity brings with it a greater exposure and a greater probability, which of course all my co-panelists I'm sure are working hard to ensure, but as an outsider to the system, that's how I look at it. The second aspect, which is unique I think to Indian banking, partly because we have had a large background of public sector banks, is that we are more, and to a certain extent even systems people are more regulated by checklists. And we are more compliance oriented rather than result oriented. This is one thing that I find very often, that every person who is entrusted with security first wants to make his bag secure, saying that I have followed everything and our regulators are very good at prescribing various norms. Ultimately, it is the proof of the pudding. You see the number of frauds, you see the number of misuse. Of course, I don't say that it is because of the banking system's failure. It is user failure also. It is the systemic failure, user failure, as well as external factors which you have no control over. But as I said, proof of the pudding, bottom line is hit. So for me, as an outsider, as an auditor, whether I lose money due to revenue leakage, whether I lose money due to inefficient staff handling, or whether I lose it due to poor digital security, ultimately it is something that hits the bottom line and hits the profitability. So if you look at the larger picture, my concern with digital security is that A, we need not be too, keeping our focus only with the jhapads, as they say, on security systems per se. What you need to really have is active, cost-effective systems which are actually performing, rather than what is set down by regulators. The regulators set down minimum benchmarks. Unfortunately, we, in a system of a highly regulated environment, as is there in banks, whether it is public sector banks or private banks, these are highly regulated environments. And what I find is that we tend to equate compliance with achievement. Actually, achievement is when your bottom line is reflecting that, and there is no fraud, or I know that's a very idealistic situation, but that's how I really look at it. So coming from a different perspective, I would look at digital security as something that you take much above the level of the minimum prescribed norms. I know RBI prescribes RBI and various other bodies that they have formulated for the digital security, they prescribe very complex requirements. I'm not saying that they are to be belittled, but eventually to make the bank that you're working for highly profitable from just moderately profitable, one has to surpass that and anticipate problems. I'll give you 2 or 3 just quick examples and then wind up. We've got security systems. At how many places are they not activated is what a security person needs to see. I see stock statements being submitted but not recorded, and various other situations where interest, etc., interest revenue leakages take place because of non-activations of existing controls. These are areas which I would be more concerned with, but I know that we are, in tight situations, so I'll not give more examples. I'll stop there. Thank you very much.